what is up, guys? Alright, what is up, guys? So this is my Season 1 playoff preview. We're going to start off with the number 1 seed, Texas Longhorns. So, Texas, they finished the season 9-1. They were the best team in the league pretty much all season. No doubt about it. Nobody really came close. They actually started 9-0 and then dropped off the final game of the season with Purdue. But we look here. I mean, they really led the league in both hitting and pitching. They had the most runs scored with 60, least runs against with 34. Their slugging, their OPS, number 1 and number 2 in the league, and a lot of that came from the long ball. They had 22 home runs all season long. I mean, just every team they were hitting. It felt like every game they were hitting home runs. I mean, they averaged just over 2 a game, so they were crushing it. ERA, 2.86 team ERA. That was good for best in the league. Second best, let's see. The second best team ERA would have been Purdue with a 4.66. FIP was actually a little bit. FIP ended up being third. It's a lot of the reason they did well is their outfield defense. They had a really good outfield. Infield's not quite the story. We'll get into that a little bit, but they had a really solid outfield that helped the pitchers, and all they really had to do was keep it in the ballpark and had a good chance of getting caught. So, not super high in strikeouts. They had 26 team strikeouts all season, good for 4th out of 6. But they did a really good job keeping the ball in the ballpark, keeping the average distance down. So, 3 of the top 7 in WAR are on Texas, and that's going to be. We're going to get into this a little bit with Peter, Choate, and RKO. But first, let's go over kind of what their schedule looked like. They start off the season against Illinois. They won both games. They started off with a 4-3 win, and then an 8-4 win. They faced Houston. They swept them. Arizona State, we swept them. We'll get into that a little bit. Kansas, they swept. Kansas, they beat Kansas 3-0. Those 3 runs were the least they've scored in a game all season. They had 4 or more runs in 9 out of 10 games. The one game they scored less than 4, they shut Kansas out. So the margin of victory was still there. And then Purdue, they took game 1. Peter hit a walk-off grand slam for a 7-4 win, and then Choate struggled a little bit there. We'll get into that as well. Choate struggled, and they lost 10-4 to Purdue. What I think is a really good offense anyway, so nothing to be ashamed of. But let's get kind of into it. So they're as the number 1 seed. They are going to face the winner of Illinois and Arizona State. So Illinois and Arizona State, they're going to play in a best-of-1 wildcard game. Obviously, I'll be in that playing for Illinois. But they're going to play in a best-of-1 wildcard game. The winner will face Texas in a best-of-3 semifinals. So it'll be home, away, home for Texas. They have that home field advantage all the way through the playoffs for being the first team. Where they did go 5-0. They did not drop a single home game. I would like to point out, they won at home, but they were close. There were some close calls. Their run differential at home was, I think, 9, and they had 3 games they won at home by 1 run. And honestly, that Purdue game, they won by 3, but it was a walk-off grand slam. So when you think about it, they were very, very close to losing, really 4 of their 5 home games there. So on the road is really where they kill it. So we'll see if that affects them in the playoffs. And I think Peter pitched, I guess, 3 of those home games. Choate pitched 2, so it's not like it was, Choate, the second pitcher pitched all of those. It was pretty split even, but they'll look to face one of these 2 who they swept both of them. Pretty similar things, with a 1-run win at home, and then putting 8 runs up in a away loss. But obviously Illinois made it a little bit closer in their loss. Getting into some of their team leaders, so I looked at pretty much everybody. I think this was everybody with at least, really anyone with more than 5 games played, but in this case, all of these people had 8 or more. So Texas, they played a lot of the same lineup. A couple of these additions, they got Rhett and Sev from Illinois. We traded Rhett and Sev in exchange for Arclight, who has 4 games played on the season, Johnny, who has 5, and Thomas didn't even show up to a game for them. So Hatman and Johnny had a little bit of help in those wins, but really it's kind of been the main core with these 4 and then them down here. So Peter, looking like the MVP. Maybe Bobber is going to be close. I mean, Bobber has got the WAR. Bobbert's pitching WAR is higher. It may be Bobber, but Peter's certainly going to win Offensive Player of the Year, finishing with the best OPS in the league here. 2.083 OPS, the only one with an OPS above 2,000. And just for reference, the league OPS was 1,100. So, Peter was twice as good as the league average in OPS, and 7 home runs led the league. He had a third of his team's home runs. When you combine him and Choate, they had half of them. Add Dino in those 2/3, so really that core right there a big part. But Peter's also 2.2 ERA, led his team, led the league at 2.2. He led the league in wins at 5-0. 2.2 ERA is best in the league. He's kind of up there in a lot of the pitching stats there. His partner in crime, Choate, CC, he had a really good season too. I don't want this to be understated how good of a season he had. He finished top 5 in a lot of categories, just behind Peter. 5th in OPS, 2nd in WAR. He's actually slightly above Peter. So Peter's WAR 7.2, Choate's WAR 7.3. So they were neck and neck in WAR. A big, Peter has the difference in OPS, has the difference in ERA. The difference is Peter had 4 errors on the season. I think they might have all come in the same game. At least 3 of them came in the same game. At the end of the day, they won the game, so not a ton to look at. Peter overall pretty solid defensively. I'm not really concerned about the errors. He just had a rough game there. But the pitching's been there. Again, we'll get into the pitching a little bit, but Choate, 5th in OPS, his 4 home runs there, good to be at kind of towards the top of the league. Where was he at in home runs? Let me check. Choate, so 4 was good tied for 4th in the league, so definitely had a good season. A 3.7 ERA, and honestly, it was mid 2s. It was right there with Peter until that blow-up game against Purdue. And we'll talk about that at the end a little bit. Dino, Archeo out of nowhere. He struggled in EBL, but Peter took him first overall. Peter had all the faith in the world in Dino, and it's paid off pretty well. The power isn't quite what we're used to with Dino. Kind of a bit of a singles merchant. He's got 14 hits on the season. 9 of them have been singles. So, but still, 3 long balls. He's been able to produce. He's been able to keep things moving in the lineup. Get things turned over for Peter. And these 3 tied for 35 of Texas's 60 runs. So when we head into this postseason, you got to wonder how pitchers are going to pitch this team. It's very, very, very top heavy. They have 3 phenomenal hitters, but after them, there's unfortunately not a whole lot for Texas. They're the only 3 batters on this team with an OPS plus above 100. So they're the only 3 batters who have been above average in hitting. Part of the reason they're so good that they bring everybody else's OPS plus down. It's kind of how those plus stats work, but still, they've been at the top. For reference, Purdue has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 above 100 in OPS. Even Kansas has 7. Illinois 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I mean, 6 or 7 players on each team with an OPS plus above 100, and they have 3. A few of them in the 90s. We'll get into that right here. So RC 2 home runs. He's been about an average hitter. He's done his job. 2 home runs is nice. I want to see if he has any kind of clutch stats. 1 for 4 in the clutch. Now, obviously, he's not getting a lot of opportunities. His hits are pretty spread evenly. He went 4 for 6 against Arizona State. He went 2 for 5 against Illinois. So I mean, honestly, his 2 home runs were against Kansas and Arizona State. So clearly, his offense against kind of the top teams in the league hasn't been quite where it needs to be. And that does worry me a little bit about the playoffs, but we'll see how he's able to do. He honestly, the second half of the season he was certainly better than in the first half of the season. Moving on to Rhett. So Rhett Nader and Sev, as we know, they got them. I traded them from Illinois to Texas. They've not been great this season. Rhett, the thing with Rhett, he had really good. What was it? He had really good contact, but I remember trading him because I didn't love his power. His average. Rhett Nader. Let me find his average distance as a hitter. Average distance of 196. That was his average distance of 196. And the league average is 205. So he was below average in average distance. He's got 1 barrel and no sweet spot. So he's hit the ball over 380 studs just 1 time all season. That's what a barrel is, and he's never hit it over 400. Very left field heavy. 19 of his 25 hits have been to left or left center. Peter, if we want to go into kind of where they're hitting, we know Peter hits lines a lot, but he's hit right center gap a lot too. So it's kind of in left field, right field lines. Both lines he hits really well, and then right center gap. So he's even though the power's there's times when he's just more so going for contact. Choke, pretty heavy towards left, but, I think honestly Rhett and Sav are the two who really just abuse left field line. Rhett, he is a good defender. His defense has been big for them. They got him in center field. I think it's a good pickup, honestly. He's a veteran. I think his hitting is going to get better in the playoffs. But we'll see. His first half of the season, he batted .474. Last half of the season, he went .364. So, it dropped quite a bit. Power up a little bit. Higher slugging in the second half of the season, but certainly could be some concern there if you're Rhett. But we'll see. I think he could get better. Sev, 2 home runs, but that's been about it. He has not looked great. He's 8 for 29, 276 average, OPS plus of 41. So, and that's a 793 OPS. He's not been good at all offensively, and he just spams left field line. 19 out of 23 hits have been left field line. He's actually had 2 sweet spots. He's hit the ball over 400 twice. I'm assuming that's his 2 home runs. So he's had a couple of solid home runs that have brought his average distance up. But besides that, he has struggled. Ghosty also. It seems just watching Ghosty that he's improving a little bit. He's getting a little bit more used to the hitting system. It can be tough because I think he was kind of guess hitting early. But he's starting to settle in a little bit, but still, he hasn't hit a home run yet. Could offer some help at pitcher if needed. He's got the experience. He's got one inning this season. But the nice thing is, these guys they're active. They play good defense, and they'll get a timely hit. If Peter, Choate, Dino, they're getting a hit. If 2 to 3 of them is getting a hit, you need one of your next 3 guys to get a hit, and you're scoring. So. With how good the top of the lineup's been, it's taken some of the pressure off the bottom, but we'll see in the playoffs. I am a little worried when they're running into, Bobbert for 2 out of 3 games, or, dare I say me, or Shrill for 2 out of 3 games. We'll see how they do in those situations versus the better pitchers, not being able to stat pad against 5-6 fielders and really bad pitchers. But I gotta hand it to them; they've been very active. I think Clutch also. I mean, he's been a non-factor. He's got 4 hits all season in 8 games played, in 3 errors. I mean, he's been really, really bad this season. But we'll see. If he can show up and maybe somebody else can play on his account or something. I mean, they're gonna have to try something for Clutch. Lastly, pitching. I mean, this again, back to that top heavy. They got 2 really good pitchers. Peter, 2.2 ERA, pitched 25 innings, 13 strikeouts. So strikeout every other inning, 6 home runs allowed. It's kind of seems to be about average. I mean, I led the league in home runs allowed with 10. I mean, if Peter's giving up 6 home runs, he got a 2.2 ERA. Obviously, 6 isn't crazy. I think it's really, he's not giving up the home runs with runners on base. He's given up 41 base runners, but only 11 earned runs. So, more often than not, they're not coming around to score. Timely, getting good contact. I imagine pitching around kind of the better hitters getting to the bottom of the order. Choate, I mean, he was killing it, and then you ran into Purdue. You get up 10 earned runs. And it was not. I mean, he looked really bad. I mean, if I pull up the game there, they were just hitting the ball hard. 350 studs, 370 studs. I mean, if I count, let me count it up. If it'll load up here, I just want to see how many. So there's 1, 2 in the first inning, 2 of them over 360. In the second inning, 1 over 360. In the third inning, 2. And then in the fourth inning, another 2. So he had 7 hits allowed in not even a full 4 innings. I mean, they took him out with 1 out in the fourth. So 3 in the third inning, and he gave up 7 batted balls over 360 sets. So, I mean, he was getting crushed. Purdue, I don't know if they've been watching film on him, but I think I am. If you're facing Choate, go watch that Purdue game and see what they were seeing. And also, they held. I thought they held the Longhorns in check pretty well too. So offensively, who was pitching that game for them? They had Andrew, and Andrew struggled all season. Vakin, he struggled, but he's slowly been getting better and better. And we'll kind of get into obviously Purdue one of these times, but he was kind of able to settle in there and really keep the Longhorns in check. But yeah, Texas, look out for them. They don't know who they play yet. I'll get to the Arizona State and Illinois videos soon. I don't want it to, I don't want to understate how well they played this season and how active they are and just how good the top of their order is. I would imagine they're most people's favorites to win the College World Series. They're actually not mine. I don't know if you guys remember this in season 3. Back in the old NCAA, I was on a Texas team. We went 9-1 and we lost in the College World Series, and I think a lot of it just came down to the late season cohesion and just kind of who you're playing. But I think Texas has a good chance to win it all. nobody would be shocked. They're 9-1, but we'll see. A lot of people saying the regular season merchants, but yeah, that's kind of the Texas preview. Good team, good top heavy offense, really good pitching. It's no other team has maybe not no other team. It's gonna be hard to find teams with two solid pitchers. I think that's kind of Purdue's weakness. That's why they only went 6-4. I think, Illinois. Alexander showed up to 2 games, and I pitched 5. But besides that, it was tough to find pitching. Arizona State, it's been tough for them to find pitching. Outside of a really bright spot in Trill, who I'm excited to talk about later on. But yeah, super excited. Let me know what you guys think. How far do we think Texas makes it? Do we think they make it all the way? Do we think they have some struggles? But yeah, I look forward to seeing these playoffs play out. I cannot wait. This is going to be super exciting. We got 5 solid teams.